beautiful and a very cute element on the program today. So I hope you'll get up for that.
I'm Toya Singh joining you here from New Delhi. We've got, as Sonal just said, an action-packed show ahead. Let's take a look at all of the headlines.
The bad and the beautiful of IV therapy. Can IV therapy actually lead to skin tone? Get the facts right before you actually try out this new trend.
And a UPSC success story for you. Meet the Telangana Bedi worker's son, Nandala Saikiran, who is going to be joining us on TBC. He bagged the 27th rank in UPSC civil service exams, and he credits his mother, his father, for the values they raised him with.
The beauty of the flightless waddling bird. The day of the adorable tuxedo-wearing bird. It's Penguin Day, you guys, and we've got to do our bit to save the environment because now it's taxing them.
And the World of Auto 2024, Hyundai Creta versus Toyota's Hyryder versus the Skoda Kushaq. We've put these cars through a detailed test to find out, is the hype around them real?
Another IPL thriller, it is Delhi Capitals versus Gujarat Titans. Their highlights coming up on the program along with Rishabh Pant, who shines but put Delhi Capitals over the top.
And Friday is voting day. Phase 2 of voting is taking place in 13 states across the country. On Friday, we on TBC send out this message: go cast your vote. Every vote matters.
All right, let's start the program today by talking about all things beauty, all things gorgeous, and talking about that, there is a latest beauty trend doing the rounds, and it's called IV therapy. Social media is, of course, busting with its posts, influencers, celebs, everyone seems to be on it. The key factor, however, is that it's set to bring in instant results to your skin. And we are, of course, in this world, Toya, as you know, of instant everything, we have no patience. So clearly, we've got some learning to do here.
Now, this is originally an entire ritual that brides would obsess over. But now it seems like it's a ritual that Gen Z, that millennials are obsessing over too. But what is this ritual exactly? How does it work? What's the technicalities?
Let's talk about some basics first, right? Let's talk about IV therapy 101. Now, IV, as we all know, is intravenous. Every time you get to an extreme situation, your doctor puts you on these IV drugs. It could be antibiotics, it could be anything. Similarly, when it comes to beauty, it has been in the works for a while, but as it offers in some fast and direct methods of delivering medicine or essential nutrients into your body, injecting it directly into your bloodstream. Now, IV can be a different concoction. Sometimes it's an antioxidant, sometimes it's an amino acid, sometimes it's vitamins. There's a whole host of things really out there.
The most common ingredients used in this form of therapy are vitamin C, you have B vitamins, you have magnesium, zinc, etc. But now, and this is what we're really looking at, is the expansion, concoctions of hangover, immunity, for detoxing, for skin glow, hydration boosters. It's a whole gamut.
Yeah, it sounds all nice and fancy, but the question obviously is, should you take it or should you stay away from it? And that's exactly what we are trying to decode here on TBC this morning. The bad and the beautiful of IV therapy, we'll talk about that, and who better than to get a voice who is an authority when it comes to all things beauty. Dr. Rashmi Shetty, celebrity dermat, also an author, somebody who's widely followed in the country, is with us in the studio. Good morning, Doc. So lovely to have you here. And can I just start by saying and address it straight up? Do you think IV therapy is for everyone, as everybody seems to be going around taking these drips all time long?
if I should put it simply, everybody doesn't need it. You may want it, but you don't really need it.
That's a good way to put it. So who do you think should really be going for IV therapy, and who are your clients? Like, who do you prescribe it to?
See, client-wise, like I said, beauty is a wish, right? You can't judge saying who wants it and who doesn't want it. It's a wish. You want it. But what's important is to see that you do it at a safe place. Now, like you said in your intro, rightly enough, there's various types of things that get into your IV. When IV, you say, means intravenous, which means whatever I'm putting in is straight going to your heart. So whatever is the effect may be instant for the rest of your body, but it's also instant in terms of what it does to your heart. It could be as threatening of cessation of your heart. It can just stop your heart.
Gosh.
There have been cases where people have died on IV tables in places when it has been performed in unauthorized or non-medical institutes. So as much as benefit is something that everybody would love to look at, please also look at that it could be something very, very life-threatening.
Gosh.
So in general, what goes into IV is, like you said, we can categorize or divide it into vitamins, minerals, there could be amino acids, antioxidants, and certain other essential nutrients which form a larger category called antioxidants. So these are usually, and you just put 2, 3 here, 2, 3 there, -1, -2, and you all make some fancy cocktails with beautiful, sellable, marketable names.
Yeah.
But by and large, it's just a mix of any one of these 5.
Right. Toya has a question for you, Doctor.
Yeah, Doc, we know a little bit about how important moderation is in these moments. But
Yes.
exactly how often should one take it? How can one understand? Obviously, these are for different things, but how can one understand, okay, this is when we should take it? No, this time it's not worth it. How would you advise us to decide?
By and large, let's say you have had a holiday which has been very tiring, a lot of sun exposure, you need to get back to work, then you could get in for an IV therapy where you put in some water-soluble vitamins like maybe vitamin C, maybe some of your B complexes which you really need, and a set of antioxidants which could be the most popular glutathione precursors. All of this can just go into a IV cocktail and it makes you feel instantly fresh, happy, hydrated, and you get back to your work. Or you've had a very rigorous physical day, physical workout, and next day you're ready for a shoot that you want to do. You're continuously doing action-packed things and you need some more energy for your muscles and some more instant boost. That's when you can end up doing a little bit of an IV. Now, these are the only few times I think an IV is actually really useful. An antioxidant mix can another be useful if you really have an everyday stressful life. A lot of us have a very stressful life, which is not a bout of stress, but it's always stressful, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you also have a lifestyle which is not great. You may not be able to sleep on time. You may smoke. You may drink, which I'm not
Tell me
advocating.
about it. Huh.
Doing it. Then you may need some extra detox, and this could be a quick fix.
All right. So a quick fix, but under a proper supervision and getting it from the right person is most key. I want to bring in another element to this, Dr. Shetty. There was a recent Netflix series which talked about IV, and when I say IV, I think automatically people make a connection to that.
Yeah.
It's got a complicated name, but it said that the phrase used in the series was "chehra saaf ho jayega," and what it really wanted to say very subtly was that you'll get fairer skin. Can you tell our viewers, is that possible? Is there any IV in the world which actually can give you fair skin?
Come on, all of us dermats would have been sitting with a drip and been shining white. No, it can't. Absolutely not. So all that an antioxidant or a multivitamin or an amino acid concoction do is help detox your cell, energize your cell, and therefore probably detox your some organs, vital organs like your liver, protect your kidney at a moderation. At extremes, it can even damage your kidney. So at a moderation, protect it. So when you actually have a detoxed cell, let's say energized body, isn't your skin naturally glowing? So that little natural glow you could end up getting. If you do have pigmentation in your body folds, on your face, due to sun damage, due to oxidative stress, that can clear up a little. but you cannot become another shade than what you're actually born with. So that is not possible at all. There is no lightening drug. There is no skin lightening concoction. So for all of you who are assuming that's going to happen and wasting your time, money and effort, please don't do it. That is not going to happen.
That's actually very good advice. And before I toss to Toya, I have another sort of follow-up to this. But what do you say to then patients who come to you with celebrity pictures and talk about how, look at them, they've become shades lighter. How did that happen? Make me light.
No, so I always tell them this particular couple of actresses' names they take and they say, how did this happen? And I keep telling them, some of them are my patients and I know I've seen their evolution through time. It's just that they've learned better grooming. The makeup has changed now. The lighting has changed now. So by and large, there's a lot of things that has changed. Not that the skin color has changed at all. And isn't it that all of us, when you start taking care of yourself, you kind of avoid sun, use a good sunscreen, use a good recovery cream, you know, get good lifestyle, healthy lifestyle. Don't we see ourselves getting a little more better, maybe going back to your original color rather than the damaged exterior? So that's all is what there is. So please don't look at these things. You yourself know as an anchor, a day when you're better lit, you look much more brighter. The day the lighting is not so great or your makeup didn't turn out that well, things look a different shade. So there's so much going there. So, and post-production.
Filters, Toya.
So tell us, Doctor, we've kind of been hinting at this for our audiences. We've been saying stay away. It can be very bad for you if there's any kind of harmful effect. But tell us, what actually happens if you take an overdose of all of these fluids?
One, there is an oxidative process in your body that happens while there are certain functions of your body happening. You need them. You don't want to kill every oxidative thing that's happening there. Two, a lot of vitamins, for example, let's say magnesium, very, very popular with people who go to the gym. They pop a pill and they take an IV, right? So there's so much excess magnesium. When excess magnesium happens, it can lead to hypocalcemia. Your calcium can actually go down. Hyperkalemia can happen, which could be dangerous. You could end up having lethargy, palpitations, all of this can happen. So there is a whole load of these things that can happen. Imbalances in your actual elements in the body that you need can happen. One going excess can push the other lower. So there's so much happening in the body, like a song and dance and an orchestra playing, and the fine balance. You're going and making something so excess, and sometimes you don't make out till it is actually over the top.
Correct.
You still think it's your tiredness, maybe you're palpitating because you're tired, but you don't realize that's an imbalance caused by the IV that you have ended up taking.
These are very important points, and if I may add to this, I feel the whole concept of getting a lighter shade is something that we must say bye-bye to. You know, dark is beautiful, and every shade of people can be gorgeous as long as they're happy from inside, and that's clearly not coming from an IV is what we've learned today morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Rashmi, for all those insights. I hope we have got the message across to people as well. So we're not saying it's doomsday and it's going to lead to issues all over, but get it in the right proportion at the right time under the right supervision. That's really the message.
The takeaway.
From right supervision. Please stress it, because there are a lot of, because it's popular, there are IV bars, there are IV salons, spas. This is not the place. It has to be under a doctor's supervision.
Okay.
On that note, it's time to sort of move on to more beautiful things then. For our next story, let's add a twinkle to your eye and awe to your lips, because we are going to talk about the adorable tuxedo wearing birds and easily the most loved flightless birds. I'm talking about penguins.
Penguins are waddling. They waddle aquatic creatures that consist of 20 species that live entirely in the southern hemisphere. And thus, obviously, with global warming, their own lives, their ecosystems that they live within, those are under risk. So, on World Penguin Day, we're going to remind you to do your bit to save these lovely, slightly furry creatures.
Yes. Please, let's protect these beautiful creatures, appreciate their swimming skills, their social skills. And did you know that penguins only take one partner for life? They have this amazing monogamous lifestyle, and they also have great parenting skills. Well, before we dive into more on that, take a look at this next report, and it will be a treat to your eyes, we promise.
April 25th is not an actual holiday, but a fine time to think about these amazing aquatic flightless birds, penguins. World Penguin Day is reported to have been started by researchers in Antarctica. The day marks that time of the year when the Adelie penguin begins moving towards the north during the winter. Though the day may have been started for Adelie penguins, it's used to celebrate all of the world's different species of penguins. Adelie penguins are one of the 17 to 20 species of penguins recognized worldwide. The southern hemisphere is home to most of these penguins, with a total of about 20 species known to humans. The emperor penguin is the largest species of penguins, whereas the smallest are found along the coastal areas of New Zealand and Australia. One of the most popular and intriguing characteristics of penguins is that of them waddling with their group in icy lands. This has made them a popular subject for animated movies and cartoons. According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, 10 of the 17 species of penguin currently exist are endangered or threatened with extinction. Penguins are highly social animals that spend up to 3/4 of their lives in the sea. They rely on the oceans for food, and thus overfishing and pollution are the major threats to their survival. Climate change is also a major concern for penguin species. World Penguin Day provides an opportunity to appreciate these unique animals and take a stand against the threats they face. Bureau Report, CNN News 18.
You clearly don't want to live in a world without penguins, and you don't want to endanger them, so please do your bit to ensure that you're doing and contributing to a greener planet.
Okay, let's move on from that now to stories that are taking place across the country and the world. The US Senate passes a game-changing bill that could spell the end for TikTok in America. This landmark decision gives ByteDance, which is the Chinese owner of the popular app, just 9 months to sell its stake or face a nationwide ban. US President Joe Biden has vowed to swiftly sign the bill into law once it lands on his desk. ByteDance remains tight-lipped in response to the Senate's decision.
Voyager 1 has reconnected with NASA after months of silence. The team at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory has successfully addressed a glitch that silenced the Voyager's transmissions, pinpointing the issue to a faulty computer chip. While engineers celebrate this breakthrough, efforts continue to fully restore the flow of scientific data.
US officials sound the alarm on counterfeit Botox injections, linking them to the sickness of 22 individuals, with half ending up in hospital. The CDC, that's the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, they've issued a stern warning to doctors. They're asking that cases that are emerging across 11 states be looked at. These are cases that have emerged since November. 6 people have already been treated for suspected botulism, as it's been called.
WHO's chief scientist has highlighted the enormous concern surrounding the spread of the highly pathogenic bird flu amongst cattle in the US. While there's currently no evidence of human-to-human transmission, the virus is evolving and expanding its host range, posing a potential risk to humans. The fear looms: if the virus gains the ability to infect humans and spread between people, it could trigger a global health crisis.
The US Food and Drug Administration reveals that remnants of the bird flu virus have been detected in samples of pasteurized milk originating from cows infected with the avian influenza virus. While the US FDA emphasizes that the detected material is inactive and poses no risk to consumers, they're still delving deep into the issue. According to the public, the US FDA maintains that the commercial milk supply remains safe.
A Belgian man has, due to a rare medical condition called auto brewery syndrome while his body produces alcohol. His lawyer revealed that he also works at a brewery, adding to the irony of the whole situation. However, the three independent doctors confirmed his ABS diagnosis, leading to its acquittal by the Bruges police court.
The European Union is unveiling a game-changing visa regime offering up to 5-year validity on Schengen visas to frequent visitors from India. Now, this move aims to ease the visa process, especially for those with an established travel history. Previously, short-term visas were the norm, but now travelers can enjoy longer stays with fewer hassles.
Scrap metal mafia Ravi Khanna and his associate Kajal Jha have been apprehended in Thailand. According to sources, Noida police was in constant touch with the Thailand police and has given them all the details related to Khanna. A red corner notice was issued against him in January.
And after the break, because we're going to head into a short break, but right after here on TBC, we love to bring you stories that will inspire you through the rest of the day. Our next one, a huge success story coming in with the UPSC results being released just a few days ago. This story comes to us from Telangana, and we promise you it's a very, very special one. Do stay with us.
Hi, good.
Let me now go across to a renowned economist and former executive director with the International Monetary Fund, Dr. Sujit Bhalla is now joining us. Thank you very much, Dr. Bhalla, for speaking with us. So this whole idea of inheritance tax, which has been floated by Mr. Petroda, first of all, he says it's there in the United States. He calls it an interesting idea. It's there in just all of 6 states out of 50 in the United States. Why do you believe that this is a bad idea? India has had inheritance tax in the past. Why did we abolish it?
We have had lots of bad ideas in the past, and we have abolished several of those bad ideas. Some of them are still continuing. So just because we had an inheritance tax in the past doesn't mean it should be applicable today. More to the point, look, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but we are in the stage of development where we should be celebrating the generation of wealth, the generation of jobs, the economy moving forward. Remember, the big idea has to be, when you tax, is redistribution, correct? You want to be able to redistribute, and that is one of the most celebrated policies around the world if you can achieve it. Now, you redistribute income. There are very few countries in the world that attempt to redistribute wealth, and for obvious reasons. As you said, we even tried it. So I think the concentration should be what has happened to income inequality, consumption inequality, and what is the government doing to redistribute towards the bottom half of the population or the bottom third, whichever.
Okay.
And I think in that regard, India has had a huge success story, especially over the last decade. For the first time that I have seen or studied for any country in the world, that inequality, consumption inequality, has gone down in India, according to the 22-23 Consumer Expenditure Survey. Now, inequalities don't go down. The reason they have gone down and why the data seem to be very accurate, look at the set of redistribution that has been done over the last decade. Starting off with food being given free to, mind you, 800 million people. Now, where did we get the 800 million from? It is according to the Food Security Act, which was passed in 2013. Now, I'm not a big supporter of the Food Security Act, but those are the facts. So the Food Security Act stipulated, passed by the Congress government, stipulated that 75% of rural India,
Okay.
regardless of their income or consumption level, would get free food, cereals, rice or wheat. And actually at that time, it was rupees 2 or rupees 1 per
Yeah.
kilo. And 50% of urban India. Whoever lived in urban India now would get the free food. What has happened, and I think we've talked about it over the last decade or so, that basically prior to 2014, there was massive leakage in the distribution of food.
Welcome back, and now let's get you some news, especially for all you iOS lovers out there. And this time it's some good news for a change. Apple is hosting its next launch, and it's being called Let Loose. It's going to happen on the 7th of May at the Apple Park in Cupertino in California.
And what's exciting about this event? The next generation iPad Pro, the iPad Air models, and a new Apple Pencil. They're all likely to be introduced. Now, we won't reveal more to you. Take a look. You know that Apple fans line up 24 hours before sometimes just for these releases. Take a look. This is a special report.
The iPad may finally be getting a major revamp. Apple said Tuesday that it would host an event on May 7th. And reports suggest that will be the moment for new models of its tablet computers. The current iPad designs have been on sale since 2018, albeit with periodic updates. Any launch would also come amid declining sales for the product. iPad shipments dropped by 25% over the first quarter, with the broader market for such gadgets under duress as consumers cut back on non-essential spending. Apple sells 5 models of the tablet, but they contributed less than 6% of its turnover in the year-end quarter. Now the tech giant is in need of a boost amid signs that sales are also slowing for its flagship iPhone. Figures this week showed sales of the handset slumped 19% over the first quarter in China, the world's biggest market for phones. It's suffering as local rivals including Huawei step up competition. Worldwide, Apple has lost its title as top phone maker to Samsung. That's according to estimates by industry experts IDC. The firm is yet to disclose any details of what new products the May event might see.
All right, would be interesting to see what happens in this event. Remember, this is the first time when Samsung has beaten Apple to world #1 position in the first event happening after that. So a lot of interest in how this one really pans out.
Okay, here on TBC, we love to bring you inspiring stories. A few days ago, the 2023 UPSC civil service results were released. And you remember, we brought you Aditya Srivastava, who topped the exams. Today, we have with us another really incredible story, that of Nandala Saikiran. After his father succumbed to cancer in 2016, his mother took up the challenge of raising him. And Sonal's going to tell us more.
Yeah, and Nandala is actually a very supremely inspiring story. He's with us this morning as well. Good morning. But before we come to you, just a little bit of a background. He is the son of a single mom who is a beedi worker. He lost his dad to cancer. He's the kind of a story when people look at him and they say, if he can, I can. So welcome to the show.
Sai, you're probably tired of hearing this again and again, but congratulations on securing the 27th rank in the UPSC. How do you feel?
It was really full of excitement in the first 1 or 2 initial days. But after that, it's pretty normal for me. So in the sense that I always looked this exam and this result in the terms of it's just giving me a platform to do something else in the future. So this is not a success or achievement altogether. So I always see this process in the same way. But I'm so happy that the people around me are they are very joyful and they are very feeling proud. Not just my family, not just my friends, and my entire village and other nearby villages and districts. So they are so proud and happy. So that's giving me more happiness.
Well, you're really playing it subtly and wearing it with a lot of humility, but it's not easy to be studying and growing up in an environment such as yours and still securing such a top ranking position. Tell us a little bit about your childhood. How was it having a single tiger mom around?
Yeah. So not just my mother, like both my father and mother. So me and my sister were the first generation graduates in our family. So my mother did
How
not go to
lovely.
school yet, and my father did only intermediate. So, but they're always of the view that education is our ticket for like mobility, social mobility, and education is is our biggest asset. Education is something that lives with us for long. So they always used to focus on that. Even though we come from a like lower middle or poor family, but I didn't feel that we come from such a family in any way. Only now people are talking that I came from normal background, but my parents ensured that I always got good education and always got they all secured my needs. Maybe they like I always see that parents are there for secure your needs, not needs. So in that way, I'm so lucky and fortunate.
So, a very big part of your story that we're reading again and again online is that you were actually working the full time at quite a hectic job while you were studying for the UPSC process. Tell us, while you were working, you were doing this, did you sometimes get tired of the fact that you had to go into your job every single day? Were you just like, I hate this?
So nothing like that. See, I love my job. I work in electronic sector, core sector, where the graduation is also in the same. So I did my graduation in electronics communication, and I'm working in the same sector. So I never felt that job. I'm not liking a job. Actually, the fact that I could enjoy my job made my UPSC preparation journey easier. Because if you hate that and that mental fatigue will be there and it will affect your UPSC preparation also. So I never felt that grind, but I felt that just sitting rather than sitting in a AC office somewhere, but I always felt that we can do more. So that was the only motivation, but I never felt any hate for job. And in case, even though UPSC preparation, I was performing better in my job also.
Gosh, that's not an answer you get every day. And like I said, you're wearing it very lightly, but it seems like a really interesting journey. Tell us a little bit more. What was the preparation process like? It's not easy to crack UPSC, leave all, getting a ranking.
Yeah, so the thing is, my day, there's no routine for me generally because even though I wanted to have a routine, but it's sometimes there is a hectic work, sometimes there is a work where is it's lighter mode. But if I look back on an average, I used to spend around 4 hours, 5 hours a day, and on weekends I used to spend around 8 hours, 9 hours, and that too on Sundays. I used to take a break. I used to have some my personal time just to recharge myself because we're not machines, right? And I used to take leaves whenever I need. So that kind of helped me. And the most important thing is, so generally when people attempting, for example, 20 year, they start preparation a year ahead. So I know the fact that I won't be getting enough time. So I started 1.5 years before. So I have that 6 months of extra cushion for me to compensate for the time.
Okay, can we also ask you in other interviews, because you're a busy man, you've had a lot of interviews coming towards you. One of the things you're talking a lot about is that you want to do this to change the country. And so we thought we'd ask you, if you had a magic pill and you could almost change one aspect immediately, what would it be?
One thing is intervention to empower rural women. See, for example, I think especially rural women are the most they're like excluded in many areas. So, for example, if there is a magic pill, if you could empower rural women, so we can empower the entire rural families, entire rural areas. So, when we empower the entire rural India, so it will empower entire India. So, if we have magic pill to change anything, that is just like focusing on the rural women for their dream to realize their dreams, because they are the head of everything. They are the starting point of everything in rural areas.
Brilliant, brilliant answers over there, Mandala. Lovely, lovely to hear this from you, and so happy that people like you are getting into public service. But we have to end by asking you that you have such beautiful thoughts and you've been interviewed all over, as Toya was also saying. What is this one question that people haven't asked you so far?
So the first thing is, I saw the narrative in a more sympathetic tone. Personally, I didn't like, because I didn't feel any in my past or anything as a life, as a limiting factor to me. So that is the one thing. And second thing, if there any, if I want to highlight few things, you can highlight the story of perseverance. That even after some difficulties, even doing job, so it can be done. So we can show that example. That because one thing is, every year so many young youth come and give examination. So it takes for some it takes years, and it's take multiple years. And in the journey, what happens is they will be investing the precious time in this journey. But if you take the success rate, it's very low. 1,000 of 10 lakh people applying. So so I want to highlight something is like you need to be more realistic about this process and where it could get and what is the time you want to invest in this process. So having a plan B or having a plan B in this journey. And the other thing is the fact that it can be done with the job, even though it may take extra time if you plan well and extra attempt if you plan well. So these are the things I want to highlight majorly.
Dala, that's such sage advice. Basically, don't hang your hopes on the UPSC. Study, but also keep your focus in other parts of your life. That's very, very wise advice, frankly, to be hearing from you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking out the time this morning on TBC. Okay, let's move on from this. Let's shift focus to the world of auto. We compare the facelifted 2024 Hyundai Creta with the Toyota Urban Cruiser Hyryder and the Skoda Kushaq. Are hybrids a good match for turbo petrols? We put these cars through a detailed test to find out, comparing their real-world mileage and their performance figures.
We also tell you how these cars are to drive and see how they stack up in terms of feature, safety, practicality, also which of these is the nicest place to spend time, both if you're driving or being driven around. Watch till the end to let us know what you think.
It's very likely that the Hyundai Creta is right at the top of your shopping list if you're looking for a mid-sized SUV, especially since it's had a fairly significant midlife update. But how does it actually stand against something like the Skoda Kushaq with its focus on driver involvement and that slightly premium badge? Or can you get most of what the Creta offers but in a far more efficient package like this Toyota Urban Cruiser Hyryder with its hybrid powertrain? The Skoda Kushaq and Toyota Urban Cruiser Hyryder both do enough visually to give you that substantial SUV presence. Despite the considerable part sharing they come from, these two have also managed to retain the identity. But the Kushaq is the tallest and narrowest car here, which shows in its slightly top-heavy proportions. The Hyryder, on the other hand, is very similarly sized to the Creta, but could do with a shade more presence in this midst. The Hyryder goes the extra mile with its 210 mm of ground clearance. The Creta and Kushaq are closer to the norm at 190 and 188 mm. The Hyundai Creta in this facelifted form isn't perfect either. The heavily revised lighting and panels don't quite gel with the more rounded profile that's carried over. With the sharp H-pattern full-width lighting and oversized grille and contrasting panels, give it a dollop more road presence than the other two. It also looks the largest of the lot here, which many will like. It's likely that you will do quite a few road trips with your family in these cars, and the Creta is your good friend in this regard. With its 433-litre boot space, it's right at the top of the segment, and as you can see, a family's weekend luggage fits very easily in this. It's got a completely flat loading lip. It's very easy to just put stuff in or just pull them out like this. Now the Kushak has 385 litres, which seems significantly less than the Creta, and you do have to lift it up quite high considering it's a deep space here. But once inside, you realize in terms of actual usable space, there's actually not much difference, especially considering the wide opening that's there and just the shape of the boot. So with the Hyrider's hybrid powertrain, as you can see, there's some compromise to be made. The battery pack, or at least a big part of it, sits in the boot. So as you can see, I don't really have space to put in this bag here. Now what I can do, considering it's only 233 litres, is I can lift out this partition. You're going to have to figure out where to keep it and place my bag like this here. The Hyundai Creta and Skoda Kushaq Singh are both powered by 1.5 litre turbo petrol engines and pair with 7-speed dual clutch transmission. The Hyundai has a slight edge in performance at 160 PS against the Skoda's 150, and both make very similar torque. The Hyrider's 115 PS system output is misleading, as is the 0 to 100 kmph time of 11.2 seconds. In the real world, especially on crowded Indian roads where medium throttle inputs are the norm, it's not far behind the others here. Now, you know that Skoda and VW made their name with the performance and just the engagement that they offer, but with the Creta, it's very clear that Hyundai has more than caught up. Is generally quiet, and then you have the way the engine performs. To start with, it's very linear in its power delivery for a turbo petrol, so even from very low revs it pulls very clean. It has a wide power band, and past 3500 rpm it really does pick up steam quite significantly. There's a 1 second difference in the 0 to 100 time between the two cars. The Kushaq does it in about 9.7, this one does it in 8.7. But the main thing is that you don't realize that performance, and a big part of that is the gearbox. The Skoda seems to favor efficiency more than drivability. The Creta's more tractable nature means that a good dose of power is always accessible, and when you do need downshifts, the Hyundai is again more alert. Both give you an S gearbox mode that seems to bring more change to the Skoda, getting the gearbox much closer in alertness to the Hyundai. Now where does the Hyrider stand in the middle of all this? It's of course a very different experience. It's quite grumbly, there's a lot of vibration, so that's not very nice. But what these two cars can't match is that immediate electric power. So when you're crawling in traffic where both these cars are not at their strongest, especially the Kushaq, it can feel a bit jittery and unsure. It's constantly swapping between gears. This is a slightly better. In that sense, the CVT and the electric power in the Hyrider makes it really very simple and smooth in city stop-start driving. But you always have that electric torque at your disposal, which really does help when you just want to make up speed. This quite cohesive hybrid system also doesn't feel out of breath on the highway. The engine is more in focus, but you always sense that the electric motor is supplementing it. Now you get drive modes in the Hyrider and the Creta, and it's a bit more effective in the Creta given how the powertrain is.
All right, getting you all the updates from Wednesday's IPL match now. It was Delhi Capitals versus Gujarat Titans. Delhi Capitals defeated Gujarat Titans for 4 runs in another IPL thriller over there. But Toya, why is everyone talking about Rishabh Pant again?
Pant clinched a final over thriller by 4 overs, defeating the Gujarat Titans for the second time this season. Now, he had an unbeaten 88 off 43 balls and a game-changing partnership with the all-rounder Akshar Patel. And for Gujarat, things have gotten a bit more challenging with this itching defeat. We have Jamie Alter, as usual, to bring you more. Take a look.
Yes, indeed, another thriller in the IPL, a last ball thriller which saw host Delhi Capital beat Gujarat Titans by just 4 runs at the Arun Jaitley Stadium last night. It was another match headlined by big batters, but as well as some rather average fielding and rather average bowling from both sides. Winning the toss, GT captain Shubman Gill chose to put Delhi Capitals into bat on a ground which has small boundaries and a rather flat wicket. It was just a few days ago that Rishabh Pant won the toss and put in Sunrisers Hyderabad and made the same mistake as Shubman Gill. On that day, Hyderabad got to 266 and won rather comfortably. Yesterday, well, Shubman Gill might be wondering, if only our batsmen had showed a bit more gumption, a bit more fight, we could have ended up on the right side of that result. But as it panned out, it was Rishabh Pant and his Delhi Capitals that emerged victorious by just 4 runs. It was a pulsating match in which Rishabh Pant got 88 of 43 balls. Yes, 88 of 43 balls, hitting 8 sixes. That innings has put Rishabh Pant on 3rd on the IPL run charts this table with 342. And he now has 13 dismissals to make him the most successful wicket-keeper of this tournament. Now let's pause for a moment and reflect on how Rishabh Pant has even got to where he is in this IPL. 15 months out of cricket due to a horrific accident, he not only comes back, he stays fit, he's been brilliant behind the stumps, he's captained well, and he's now the 3rd highest run getter of this IPL. Are the BCCI selectors listening, watching? Are they ready to accept that Rishabh Pant has done more than enough to rightfully take his place in India's T20 World Cup squad? We have a World Cup starting on June 1st, and looking at the fitness, as I mentioned, looking at the confidence, the performance, the batting, the wicket-keeping of Rishabh Pant, I believe it is impossible for him to be left out. He should be on that flight to the West Indies and North America for the T20 World Cup, because before he had that horrific accident, he was already established across 3 formats as India's keeper. And it's so heartening to see the way Rishabh Pant has come back and smiled and leaped around and played all those audacious shots, sometimes losing a hand off the bat and also being so brilliant behind the stumps. So if you ask me, no doubt about it, send Rishabh Pant to the World Cup. Another Delhi Capitals player who might have pushed his case for selection in the World Cup is the all-rounder Akshar Patel. In yesterday's match, DC lost 3 wickets inside the power play, but Akshar Patel was promoted to number 3 and he got 66 of 43 balls. A fantastic innings, a timely innings I would say, backed by some good catching and another miserly 4-over spell from him. So Rishabh Pant, on the one hand, to my mind, sealing his spot at the World Cup, and Akshar Patel, given the doubts about who the second all-rounder would be, has done his case no harm by getting that brilliant 66, a couple good catches and another good bowling effort. On the other hand, Gujarat Titans, I think Shubman Gill entered this IPL perhaps wondering how he would fare without Mohammad Shami being injured, Hardik Pandya having left Gujarat Titans. The Gujarat Titans management, the think tank, the selectors, they made Shubman Gill the captain, but he did not have any prior T20 captaincy. And I think if you look at his batting, his body language, the pressure of captaincy is actually showing, because Shubman Gill is not operating anywhere near the levels we expect him to and the levels with which he got, the most runs in IPL 2023. And it's having a ripple effect on Gujarat Titans. They've lost a few, they've come close on a couple of occasions, but yesterday, losing by 4 runs, I'm not saying it's Shubman Gill's fault, but you can see the way, his aura not being there, it's having some kind of a ripple effect on Gujarat Titans. Still, we're at the halfway stage. Wondrous things have happened, but looking at both the teams, Gujarat and DC, I think they're going to struggle to make the playoffs. It'll take something miraculous. If you want to know from me who has a better chance, I would say just given the Rishabh Pant factor, DC probably have a bit of an edge over GT when it comes to the IPL playoff race.
And lastly, Friday is voting day. Phase 2 of voting is taking place in 13 states across the country, and we're seeing a host of different campaigns and offers launched by organizations. All of them are trying to encourage you to get out there and do your duty for the country. Take a look. We're right in the midst of election season, and as the phases roll by, companies and organizations are coming up with new and innovative methods to encourage the nearly 97 crore eligible voters to go out there and vote. Whether it's Spotify, which has partnered with the Election Commission of India to feature playlists to soundtrack the voting process, or bike service Rapido, which offered free bike rides to voters during the phase 1 of elections, companies across the country are encouraging citizens to play their part. What's particularly exciting is new initiatives coming from the non-corporate sector too. The Noida chapter of the National Restaurant Association of India has, for example, decided to offer special democracy discounts to all patrons who arrive with an inked finger at their partner restaurant. We spoke to Varun Khera from NRAI about what led to the initiative.
26 अप्रैल और 27 अप्रैल के लिए ये 2 दिन में जो भी इंक्ड वोटर्स हैं, इंक्ड वोटर्स का मतलब जब भी आप मतदान करने जाते हैं और आपके उंगली पे निशान आता है, उस निशान के साथ आप जाएं, अपना एक आईडी प्रूफ दिखाएं कि आप गौतम बुद्ध नगर के वोटर हैं और आप 20% डिस्काउंट 26 अप्रैल और 27 अप्रैल दोनों दिन को पा सकते हैं मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द ब्रांड्स इन नोएडा।
With this push to encourage people, there's a special focus this time around on first-time voters. According to the Election Commission, there are over 1.8 crore Indians in the 18 to 19 age bracket who will be first-time voters this year. How do you get these young people to go out there and vote? And do young people want to go out there and practice this integral right? Youth media organization Yuva actually conducted a survey of 18 to 24-year-olds across Bengaluru, Delhi, Mumbai and Kolkata in partnership with Tinder and Mark Your Presence. We spoke to Kevin Lee, who is Yuva's founder, about the survey's findings.
At Yuva, we've always believed that young people care and want to make a difference, and it's so heartening to see that reflected in the survey that we've done on elections and voting in partnership with Tinder India and Mark Your Presence. Apart from the fact that 60% of respondents said that they'd strongly prefer to date voters, one surprising insight we found is about 80% of respondents said they're more likely to vote if they can go with a friend or a date, which shows that voting is becoming a social activity and also a romantic one. The issues that young people want to vote on, some of them remain the same from the previous elections. We're hearing a lot about education, about employment, about health. Some of the new areas we're seeing that young people really care about and want to see reflected in electoral politics include mental health and include queer rights.
We also decided to speak to Ahana Dhar at Tinder to understand more about what they've observed about how young people interact around all of these issues online.
Half of Tinder users across the globe are between the age of 18 to 25, which is why we know that these young people care about events that affect their personal life on a day-to-day basis. We have seen the term voting being mentioned over 3x times in the last 1 year on Tinder bios. So we wanted to make sure that we provide an opportunity for young people to be able to share this passion on their profile, to share this, to be able to have conversations and connect with like-minded individuals on the app, which is why we have launched stickers on the app. Stickers like voting partner needed, I voted, etc. that you can actually put on the app and let other people know what you feel about the elections this time and when are you going out to vote and if you'd like to take a voting partner.
So young people are talking about it and they do want to make their presence felt and heard. We also spoke to Chaitanya Prabhu, who runs Mark Your Presence.
It is important for young people to vote in this election, given that 65% of India's population is below the age of 35. That makes youth vote matters. It's time young people come out to vote in large numbers because we are going to be the flag bearers of this country. Every decision that is taken in today's time is going to affect every young person.
He talks about just how important it is that this newer generation get out and cast their ballot. So from apps to non-profits, from restaurants to corporations, we're watching a massive effort at play. From us here at the Breakfast Club in CNN News 18, we want to encourage you to go out there and vote. Do your duty and enjoy the discounts.
Enjoy the discounts. That's a good way to actually peg voting. But even without the discounts, please go out and vote. Like we keep saying, you don't get to crib sitting in your rooms or on social media about the government if you are not exercising your right to vote. On that note, we're going to close the program today. Tomorrow is voting, so we will see you next on Monday. Goodbye.
Shopping per.
Let me now go across to a renowned economist and former executive director with the International Monetary Fund. Dr. Surjit Bhalla is now joining us. Thank you very much, Dr. Bhalla, for speaking with us. So this whole idea of inheritance tax, which has been floated by Mr. Mehrotra. First of all, he says it's there in the United States, 50 in the United States. Why do you believe that this is a bad idea? India has had inheritance tax in the past. Why did we abolish it?
we have had lots of bad ideas in the past, and we have abolished several of those bad ideas. Some of them are still continuing. So just because we had an inheritance tax in the past doesn't mean it should be applicable today. More to the point, look, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but we are in the stage of development where we should be celebrating the generation of wealth, the generation of jobs, the economy moving forward. Remember, the big idea has to be, when you tax, is redistribution, correct? You want to be able to redistribute, and that is one of the most celebrated policies around the world if you can achieve it. Now, you redistribute income. There are very few countries in the world that attempt to redistribute wealth, and for obvious reasons. As you said, we even tried it. So I think the concentration should be what has happened to income inequality, consumption inequality, and what is the government doing to redistribute towards the bottom half of the population or the bottom third, whichever.
Okay.
And I think in that regard, India has had a huge success story, especially over the last decade. For the first time that I have seen or studied for any country in the world, that inequality, consumption inequality, has gone down in India, according to the 22-23 Consumer Expenditure Survey. Now, inequalities don't go down. The reason they have gone down and why the data seem to be very accurate, look at the set of redistribution that has been done over the last decade. Starting off with food being given free to, mind you, 800 million people. Now, where did we get the 800 million from? It is according to the Food Security Act, which was passed in 2013. Now, I'm not a big supporter of the Food Security Act, but those are the facts. So the Food Security Act stipulated, passed by the Congress government, stipulated that 75% of rural India, regardless of their income or consumption level, would get free food, cereals, rice or wheat. And actually at that time, it was ₹2 or ₹1 per kilo. And 50% of urban India. Whoever lived in urban India now would get the free food. What has happened, and I think we've talked about it over the last decade or so, that basically prior to 2014,